is the first day of an 8-day memorial as we memorialize Hanukkah, which simply means to dedicate. We are dedicating the temple back to the Most High. It is celebrated the cleansing of the temple led by Judas Maccabees after it was desecrated by Antiochus Epiphanes in 165 BC. The 25th day of Kislev for 8 days. All right, Antiochus ruled from 175 BC to 163 BC. And he ramshacked and desecrated Israel, the temple, for 3.5 years. And we fought under the leadership of the Maccabees, and we got the temple back and dedicated the temple back to the Father. And what is so great about this took place approximately 175 years prior to the birth of Hamashiach. We had to get the temple back because the Messiah had to be circumcised in the temple on the 8th day. All right. And so we celebrate this day because it was ordained by the elders and it was confirmed by the Father. All right. And a lot of Israelites haven't gotten the revelation of this day. They don't understand that this day mirrors our day or the day of our children and our grandchildren because it prepares us for the things that is taking place now. It has been prophesied by Daniel the prophet, and it came to pass, but it was taken out of the 80 books that's in the original 1611 King James Bible. In your modern New Jerusalem or Catholic Bible, it's still in there. And so it would be in the 14 extra books, if you will, in the Apocrypha. And so it was taken out for a variety of different reasons. And one of the reasons I like to think, because this is the book and the chapter and the lesson that would impose on us in the hour that we are wakening up the spirit of Nat Turner, the spirit of righteous indignation, the spirit of us fighting back, the Messiah spirit of us co-laboring with Yehoshua. Because two dynamics took place. It was the rededicating of the temple, and it was freeing ourselves from our oppressor. And so the history of our people is that when we are conquered, we are torn away from our Elohim and our religion. So it's always twofold. When we separate it from our religion, we go into a physical captivity. In the spirit, in the mind, we are sinners and we are separated from the Father. In the natural, we go into physical captivity. All right. When sin itself is captivity. And that's for any man. Sin is a reproach for any man. But righteousness exalts a nation, especially the children of Israel. We are the leaders of righteousness, exalting us, and the world is to follow in our footsteps. And this is what dedication is about. And it has a dual, twofold meaning. Not just the physical temple, but the temple that sits on your shoulders. All right, we have been indoctrinated in our minds, in our bodies, as well as the temple. The word of the Most High has been taken out of the physical building and the physical body and the mind. And so we got the physical building back because there are some physical things in prophecy that is to happen. And so we've been working ever since to get the mind back from the same possession. So when the temple was desecrated, both temples were desecrated, the physical building and also in the mind. And because the Father just waking us up in the last 100 years, this holiday is not found in the law, Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. So a lot of Israelites kind of stay away from a lot of elders because, in my opinion, they haven't gotten a revelation of the importance of it. But that's okay because I'd rather for people who don't understand it, don't touch it. So that gives those of us who do understand it, who have gotten the revelation, we can put the truth out and get ahead of all of the misnomers and the bad teachings concerning it. And that's just the way it's supposed to be anyway. The Father ain't got 10,000 people teaching 10,000 different things at the same time. All these different biblical ideologies, there's a lot of flesh and a lot of people teaching things according to their own will, and everybody's not teaching according to the will of the Father. And so I see it as a blessing for those of us who understand, can teach it without any competition or interruptions or interference. So if you don't understand it, don't touch it, but just have ears to listen, to hear, to hearken diligently. All right. And if you do, you give it a chance, you would understand that this is the will of the Father. Let me give you just a little bit more history before I go deep into the scriptures concerning it. These 8 days. Hanukkah is known as the Festival of Lights in certain circles. It's an 8-day memorial of how the Most High led and strengthened our ancestors to take the temple back from Antigonus IV and the Greeks after they desecrated the temple of Yah with the image of jealousy, the abomination of desolation, the image of jealousy, the the teachings and the understanding of Zeus. This is where Zeus came from. This is where the name Jesus came from. And this is even where chitlins came from. That some of our loved ones was eating this week doing thanks taken. I guess they starting to call it thanks friends or friends taken or something like that. I don't know. But we normally refer to it as thanks taken because we know what actually happened. This was some colonization. This was some terrorists, some conquering and some dropping some flags, and the oppressor that took this place from whoever was here, because there's so many conflicting stories of who were the natives. I don't want to get into that. But whoever they took it from, they want us to celebrate in the demise of what we know is to be the natives. And so I'm not interested in celebrating with my oppressor his victories and his spoils and his booties that he has taken from other nations as he enlarged himself. I'm not interested in celebrating that with you. All right. So the abomination of desolation, and we know that abomination of desolation, I like to call it Satan's spirit ruling in the temple of Yah, whether it is a building or a body. And abomination means idolatry, detestable, or foul. And desolation means to bring to nothing. So this is where the prophecy of the abomination of desolation that was given by Daniel, it began during the days of when Hanukkah was created, and it mirrors this time. All right, and I'm going to go over all of these things, if y'all say so, within the next 2 weeks. All right, so we are in the 21st day. By the end of this class, we will be in the 22nd day. So what that means is this Wednesday, Tuesday at sundown, will be the first day of the 8-day count of memorializing Hanukkah. Hanukkah is an 8-day observance. All right, we observe it for 8 days, and we're going to go into why. and why it is important. And it is very important, and even how Mashiach kept this day as well. All right. So let us begin at John, the 10th chapter. Slika, let me get my headphones on. All right. Mic check one, two. For those of you that are on the conference line, all right. And I am streaming live on YouTube, Community of Israel page. Community of Israel, all right? Israel with a Y. So we're going to start off in John, St. John, the 10th chapter. Just for those who not familiar with this holiday and never really heard any teachings on it, I just want to make you comfortable that this is nothing new, not no new teaching, no off the wall revelation, you know. And so you know how Israel, you know how we is, and there's nothing wrong with being overprotective about the scriptures. And so by us just coming back into the truth, you know, if it's not in the law of Moses, a lot of us don't want to touch it, which I definitely understand, you know, believe me. But there are things in what we know as some people call it hidden books, however you want to define. You got to be careful, you know, about hidden books and lost books. I call them teacher's edition. Those are books only for those who the Father sent that has the ability to go in those books and dig out things that can confirm Torah. If it can't confirm Torah, I don't touch it. You know, a lot of those books are some fantasy island type stuff, and a lot of fragments was missing, and you had a lot of authors would fill in spaces of what's written, and a lot of things, if it's not concerning salvation, I don't over concern myself with it. But Hanukkah is something we have to concern ourselves with. We have to take our heritage back. We can't not allow somebody else to steal our history and to pervert it. We are called and charged to guard, to keep the Father's word. That's what keep means. It means to guard and protect it, to guard all of his high holy days. All right. So let's look at John chapter 10. Okay, we in John chapter 10, and I want to start at verse 22. Make it keep it real simple and plain. It says, and it was at Jerusalem the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. All right, the feast of the dedication is Hanukkah, and it was winter in the ninth month on the Hebrew calendar. All right, the 25th day. It says, during this day, Yehoshua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. All right, why was he there? He was there to keep the feast of dedication. It was celebrated the cleansing of the temple by Judas Maccabees after it was desecrated by Antiochus Epiphanes, all right, in 165 BC. And once again, it begins on the 25th day of Kislev, which sometimes falls in late November or mid to late December and lasts 8 days. It's called Hanukkah in Hebrew, which means dedication. All right. So just to ease your mind, you can see right here in John 10 and 22, Yehoshua, who is Hamashiach, kept Hanukkah. All right. So calm down because I know when I first started teaching this some years ago, a lot of people was like, "Oh man, you trying to reinvent Christmas?" And they didn't understand, you know. But it's okay. It's okay. If you don't understand it, don't touch it. But you don't have to curse it neither. All right. So now that we see that it is in the scriptures and that Yehoshua kept it, let's go back and deal with the prophecies, the origin of it being prophesied about, and then we'll go into the actual how it came about. All right. The Bible says that salvation is of Israel, and it is one of the examples of how the Father saved Israel, and it's showing you how salvation is of Israel. All right. Let's go to Matthew the 24th chapter. Let's look at something in Matthew 24. We're going to look at a prophecy that Hamashiach said himself. Look at Matthew 24, look at verse 15. Joshua said, "And when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place." In parentheses, it says, "Whosoever readeth, let him understand." So, in other words, there's more here that meets the eye. It says, "Whosoever readeth, let him understand." And what people don't understand is that the abomination of desolation is dual prophecy. Because some people would tell you that Antiochus Epiphany, which was prior to Yehoshua, was the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel. Daniel prophesied about Antiochus Epiphany, the manifestation of God on earth, God in man, the Greek God, that's what Antiochus Epiphany means, or the abomination of desolation of what we know as the Antichrist, which is to come in our day, our children or our grandchildren day, which is probably already here as the Antichrist. We know that Elder John in First John, he told us that they are already Antichrist is plural. And we know that because that deals with the spirit and the office of Antichrist. All right. But the Antichrist, the person that would be the son of Hasatan, that will come in the flesh, he would be considered the abomination of desolation. He would be the spirit of the devil in the Father's house, in the physical temple and in the body. All right. Posing as one of the sons of Adam. Okay. So 15, once again, Matthew 24 and 15, it says, "When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place." See that? He will be standing in the holy place. We're talking about in the land, posing as to be a holy individual. And we know that Antiochus the fourth did that. And we know that the Antichrist, according to prophecy, is going to do that. And the holy place will be in the land, in the geographical location where the Father has placed his name and where his word and his spirit is to reign there. He is going to park his behind there in that holy place, that sanctified, set aside place where the Father eyes is there perpetually. All right. It says in Jerusalem. And we know the holy place also is in the temple. And we know that your personal body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. All right. So you see how this prophecy is twofold. And the Father said in Hosea, that's how he used the prophets in visions and in symbols. and he multiplied visions. The Father spoke to Daniel concerning the abomination of desolation in 2 eras of time. So if you say Antiochus was the abomination, you're correct. If you say the Antichrist, you're also correct. There's something about the Antichrist that I want to point out to you that relates to Antiochus the Fourth, who desecrated the temple. The reason why we had to get the temple back, it was something about this guy that is said in the scriptures, and I want to point this out. I want to show you this real quick. So let's go to Second Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. I'm going to show you something, and I want you to catch this, because this is also Shaul prophesying about this lawless one, this abomination of desolation. All right. Now look at Second Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, in the 1st verse. He said, "Now we beseech you, brothers, by the coming of our master Yehoshua, who is Hamashiach, and by our gathering together unto him." So this is dealing with the last days, the final trumpets, 5, 6, and 7. All right. "That you be not soon shaken in your mind, because you can by the things you're seeing and by the things you're hearing." Just like today, we're seeing some very serious and disturbing things with all of the murders and homicides, with all the conspiracies and the vaccines and the mandates and everything looking like biblical prophecy. And we're seeing images speaking, and we're seeing a lot of things that would cause those that lack in faith to be soon shaken in their minds. The scripture says that men is going to be crouched over in like manner to a woman giving birth to a child, out of fear for what they seeing, out of fear for what they are witnessing. All right. So once again, verse 2, "You be not soon shaken in mind or troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, even from us, as that day of Mashiach is at hand." So the closer to the second coming of the Messiah on earth to set up the Father's kingdom and to redeem the children of Israel as a Messiah, there's going to be a lot of things that's going to be taking place that will shake you in your mind. There's a lot of things that's happening that's troublesome. All right, but we encouraged to not be shaken. That's why I read Romans, the 8th chapter, opening up the class. "Let nothing deter us from the love of Hamashiach. And if Yah be for us, he more than anything could ever be against us." And so King Solomon told us that with information and knowledge, it can bring misery. So knowing the attacks of the enemy at times and knowing the insight of the plans of the enemy, it can shake you if you don't have faith. A lot of people is running scared right now as we speak, because everybody can see the handwriting on the wall. These are the last and evil days. Something is going on, but nobody's being chased in the arms of the Father. Everybody just want to expose the evil, the Illuminati, the satanic behavior, but nobody's talking about, I'm scared enough to run to the Father and keep Torah through Yehoshua. See, that's the other side that the people is not doing. Everybody is making videos and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and they're talking about events and things of that nature, but nobody's talking about repenting, serving the Father, because that's the only way that a prudent man can see danger and run from it, is to run in the arms of the Father. How? By being obedient to his Torah through Yehoshua, who is Hamashiach. All right. So it says, "Let nothing shake your mind or trouble you." because there's a lot of people that this will happen. Verse 3, it says, let no man deceive you by any means. Why? Because a lot of deception will be going out in these days. In the days leading up to his second coming, the Antichrist will be ruling, his minions will be working, and they will be deceiving. And many people is going to be saying, I'm Christ, and I'm this. I heard this week a brother said that he got a friend, a cousin that their son say they Christ, and it's a guy on TV now. He's saying he Christ and he conquered the devil. I'm hearing a lot of crazy stuff. And so this is a playground for charlatans and magicians, the spirit of Chris Angel and the sidewalk musician. This is a playground during times of great chaos and fear. This is when deceivers reigns, all right? Deceivers are reigning. Let no man deceive you by any means. For that day shall not come except there come a falling away first. So we're going to see a falling away prior to Yehoshua coming and prior to the revealing of the Antichrist. But he's going to be called something, and I want you to catch what he's being called. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. The man of sin, right? Now, here is another part of this identity. Son of perdition, son of destruction, the abomination of desolation. So he's also called son of perdition. So when you talk to Hebrews about a son, we understand the laws of the firstborn. We understand the right hand of a father is a replica of his father. So when you say to a Hebrew, a son, the first thing comes to our mind is, well, who is his father? So if he be the son, well, then who is his father? Now we know on the spiritual level that's Satan, but he is a man. So we know on the spiritual level, Yah is Yehoshua's father, but Yehoshua had an earthly father too. See how that works? And we know Yehoshua's earthly father's name was Yosef or Joseph, right? So this guy had a earthly father, and I like to think of it as Antiochus Epiphany, not in necessarily DNA, that's not important, but in his relationship to his perdition, what he actually did to Israel and the surrounding nations, the known world at that time, and what he is going to do to Israel and the entire known world in this time. The father of perdition, Antiochus Epiphany, and the son of perdition, the Antichrist, because the Antichrist has a precursor model that comes before him. So the abomination of desolation has a pre-abomination, and it has a after abomination of desolation. So those of us who know that Elohim do great exploitations, we can identify him because the scriptures already showed us a model of him. And when he shows up, we've been waiting on this dude because we already saw during the times of the creation of Hanukkah, he was already exposed to us. This is why Hanukkah is so important on so many levels. It helps us to understand how to fight the beast, how to deal with the Antichrist. All right. We are not going into this fight ignorant. The Father said he would never allow us to be ignorant of the enemy devices. All right. So catch this again. Let no man deceive you, verse 3, by any means, for that day shall not come except what? There come a falling away first. You have to climb up to something in order to fall away. So this is people who had legitimate faith, who had legitimate service unto the Father, who climbed up to a level that was acceptable by the Father, which was given to them to do. They met their demand. They met their quota, but they lost faith somewhere and they began to fall. And you're going to see mankind fall from morality so far that it's going to be noticeable. You can notice it even to this day with the transgender community and the pride of the high-handed, filthy behavior that is taking place in the communities, all right, in the world, in society. So we can see the great falling away as it was in the days of Lot, all right? The behavior of being sodomite, male prostitution, homosexuality, high-handedly, pride, not struggling with something that you entertained or was imposed on you. Now, something that you're shaking your fist to the Father saying, I can do this. I know that a transgendered woman is a woman, and science and biology and scripture telling you no, it's not. And you're saying with a straight face, I am a woman trapped in a man's body. You have lost your mind. But that is the part of the great falling away. That's just one aspect of it. All right. The son of perdition, the Antichrist, had a model, which is Antiochus the Fourth. All right. The Greek king who came and invaded Israel and Jerusalem, and he set up his false doctrine, and he brought in the image of jealousy. He brought in Jesus. He brought in the Zeus and the Hercules. He brought in us eating swine. And on his birthday, he commanded that we eat chitterlings, pig intestines. That's where chitlins come from. Hellenization, all right? It was slavery food, but it began into slavery during the time of the Greeks, what Daniel prophesied as the age of the bronze or the brass. Remember, Nebuchadnezzar was the time of the gold, the head, the shoulders, Medo-Persia was silver. The belly and the thighs was the Greek age that they ruled the known world, and that was known as the brass age. And we know the legs and the feet is the iron, which is Rome. But this is during the time of the Greeks, that is taken out of your modern King James Bible. But the story and the prophecies is in your 1611 King James Bible. Isn't it ironic that somebody took it out? And one of the reasons I like to think is that during our time of waking up out of our sleep, we have a map how to fight this beast righteously. See, we had zeal without knowledge. Can you imagine the Black Panthers, the Civil Rights Movement, Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad? Can you imagine all of these zeals and even brothers way before them fought the beast for the liberation of our people in spirit and in truth by way of Judas Maccabees? Look how successful we would have been, because ain't no man gonna save us. And see, all their ways was carnal. All of their ways was outside of the will of the Father. Not every single detail, but the majority of their programs was they did the best that they know. But the Father gave us a model on how to fight this oppressor, and it's found in the Maccabees. All right. This is why the Maccabees is not in your modern day King James Bible, in my humble opinion. All right. but it is there now. And this is why one of the revelations the Father gave me to teach about Hanukkah and teach it accurately. It's not just no festival of lights. Hanukkah is about war. All right. Hanukkah is war. It is taking back the temple, taking back your mind. We still are infiltrated with Hellenism from the Greeks. Fraternities, sororities, the boule, the secret societies, Jesus Christ. We know his name was Yehoshua, and we know, according to Shaul, that there is another Yehoshua whom the apostles did not teach. They did not teach Jesus is God in the flesh. They never taught that. We know that's Catholicism, and that is the spirit of Antiochus IV. This is why we celebrate, we memorialize Hanukkah. It reminds us to take this temple back from the Greeks. We're still pledging our alphas and Qs and all of that. And some of us don't even see any harm in it. It would not allow you to see these scriptures clearly and to serve the Father in spirit and in truth, because it is a helmet of deception. It is a carnal indoctrination and a covenant with the leagues of the world, which we was told not to make covenant with our enemies. You're taking on a Greek way, and it is not the Father's way, all right? So I just wanted to show you that the Antichrist is a son. And when you tell a Hebrew about a son, the first thing come to our mind is, well, where's his father? Because we understand the law of the firstborn, the right hand. All right. We definitely understands that. And this is why the elders rejected Yehoshua, because he said he was the son of the living Elohim. And you tell a carnal Hebrew that you are a replica of what they know as God, man, they will bust you in your head with a brick. I'm talking about ancient brothers. I ain't talking about these coward non-believers today. Because if you're a non-believer today and you ain't sacrificing, then you're a coward. All right? Because where is your sacrifice? Where is your remissions of sin? Where is your blood? You're a coward. Don't fight me because I believe in Yehoshua. No, fight you and your elders because y'all not sacrificing. It's either sacrifice or not. There's no way out of it. You can't keep pimping Hosea. It won't be a sacrifice for a season. Well, goodness, how seasons is 90 days. My goodness, how long is the season? You can't keep pimping Hosea with that. All right. So let us continue on. I want to go into the prophecies concerning what is Hanukkah and how did we arrive to it. Let's look at something in Proverbs real quick. Let's go to Proverbs, because I want those of you that's never heard this before, I want you to feel comfortable. Because people be looking at you side eye when they ain't never heard something before. And to a degree, I understand. Proverbs 22. Let's look at something in Proverbs 22. Proverbs 22, let's look at verse 6. I want to show you something right here. Well, you know, dedication or Hanukkah ain't in the Bible. You know, it's a Jewish holiday. Well, look at what it says in Proverbs. It says, Proverbs 22:6, it says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. The word train is Hanukkah. The word train is dedicate. It means to train, to dedicate, to press upon. All right? Just like we read in Deuteronomy the 6th chapter in the Hebrew national anthem when it says to train our children daily with the word, to press, to brand our children with this word, to dedicate, to train up a child. You know, I hear people say, I ain't no dog. Hey, man needs to be trained just like anything else because we have beast behavior. When we don't have the law and we don't have the Father, we are no different from any beast. This is why the Father told us, don't be like the Egyptians. Don't be like the Canaanites nor the heathens, because they was without the depths of the Torah, and they was far removed from the Father's Spirit, and they behaved, guess what? Like beasts. They behaved like animals. So we had Torah. So we was trained up from our childhood. Let's go back to Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. Shabbat Shalom, those that's on YouTube with me. Let's go to Deuteronomy 6th chapter. I'm talking about Hanukkah. The definition of Hanukkah simply means dedication, to train. Another way of saying it is Enoch, Hanok. Enoch means to dedicate, to train. Look at Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. And look at Deuteronomy 6 and 6. It says, "In these words which I command you this day shall be where? In your mind, in your heart." Your heart is in between your frontlets of your eyes, right here. It says, "You shall teach them diligently unto your children." All right, diligently, to train, to press upon your children. How? Diligently. When? You shall talk to them when you sit in your house. This is how you train up a child. When you walk by the way, you're training up your child. When you lie down, you're training up your child. And when you rise up, what are you training your child with? Go back to 6. These words which I command you, the law, statutes, and judgments. This is what we need to be training our children. This is what Hanukkah is about, training and dedicating, because the word of Yah came from the temple. So when our temple is gone, we gone. We loses our freedom spiritually. We're bound to sin, and physically we're bound to the Gentile and our oppressor. Israel is not good at just being a regular sinner like the rest of the world. We are a covenant people and we are under a mandate. And what goes along with our sins is captivity. Every time Israel fall into sin, we go into captivity. And we're wondering why we can't shake our oppressor today. It's because of immorality and disobedience in the scriptures. You can get all the education, all the economic training and investing. You can do all of that. We will continue to have the same discussions about the problems in our community if there's no law, statutes, and judgment through Yehoshua. Yehoshua enables us to serve the Father anywhere in the world. If there is no Yehoshua, we only can serve the Father in Jerusalem, because we only can keep his 3 feast days. I know there's 7 holidays, but there's only 3 harvests. And you only can keep those 3 harvests in the land. But Yehoshua enables us to keep those harvests anywhere in the world. Those who got an ear, let them hear. All right? Without Yehoshua, you can't serve the Father in spirit and in truth. You would have to go back to the land. So you would have to take over that jury over there. You would have to go to physical war and take that land back. And then you would have to sacrifice. Before you can do all that, you have to identify who is Levi. You see what dilemma we got without Hamashiach? So you can stop the foolishness about the Messiah. All right? With your coward self, going over there and take that land back and get you some cows and get you some turtle doves and get the sacrifice. Because you do it here in America, Peter will beat your behind. All right? So Yehoshua enables us, but we are to dedicate our children in the law. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up your child. Dedicate. All right? That's what Hanukkah is. Dedicating, rededicating the temple back to the Father after all that swine and the Lord Jesus Christ, Christendom. We got to get all of that out of us. The Bible is real and it's right. But the way that the slave master oppressor gave it to us jacked us up. But thanks be the Father for his mercy and grace, which comes through Yahushua, that he brought us back through the spirit of truth. All right? Through a pureness of the word in facts. All right? In spirit, right attitude, and in truth, the facts of the book. All right, Moreh Yahshua just gave us a series of life is in the blood and how we have to serve the Father in the pureness of the word, because the Father only loved cheerful givers. He only loved those that serve him in spirit and in truth. We've been sent in captivity because we kept the Bible with the wrong attitude. Attitude is everything. The whole saying, altitude determines your altitude. Hey, that's real. If you got the wrong attitude, stop serving the Father. You're wasting your time, and go live your sinful life and enjoy it. And don't go to the lake of fire deceived. Go and boogie your way to the lake of fire like all your entertainers are doing. Go on and two-step your way right to the lake of fire if you serving the Father with the wrong attitude. All right? That's what it means to serve him in spirit and in truth. Two sides of the same coin. Okay? Let us continue on. I want to deal with the prophecies concerning Antiochus or Slikar, concerning Antiochus, but concerning Hanukkah and how we arrived here. You have to understand the history to appreciate these 8 days that's coming up starting Wednesday, Tuesday at sundown, from December 1st to December 8th on the Hebrew calendar and not the Jewish calendar. The Jews have a preset calendar. I believe they might start tonight or tomorrow night. So they have a 19-year preset cycle calendar. We go strictly by the moon, the way that we are told in the book of Enoch and in Exodus with Moses. So we get our calendar from Enoch and Moses. All right. And we go by the sun, moon, and the stars, according to what was given to us in Genesis 1:14. Okay. And so we are now in the 9th month, and we are in the 21st day. You would see a half moon today with the light on the right side, on the left side, because it's a 21st day moon. And tonight, after this class, we will be in the 22nd day. All right, of the 9th month. But according to the law of the scriptures in Maccabees, we solidified that on the 25th day of the 9th month begins the first day of Hanukkah, which is 8 days. All right. We were just in, I just finished reading in Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. But right now I'm going to go over to Daniel. I want to go to Daniel, the 7th chapter. All right. All right. The word train in Hebrew is kanak, and it means to put into the mouth so the child can develop a taste for things of discipline. So when you train a child, it's like putting something into the mouth so the child can develop a taste for things of discipline. All right. Train up a child. Kanak. All right. Put something into the mouth so the child can develop a taste for things of discipline. We're not doing things according to scriptures, and this is why we're raising drive-by shooters. All right. We're raising killers and thugs and prostitutes because we're not doing things according to the scriptures. So let's go to the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. Let's go to Daniel, the 7th chapter. The Father used this prophet greatly. Daniel gave us prophecies concerning the death, burial, and resurrection of Yehoshua, dealing with Antiochus. And we're going to expose all of that because in other communities, Daniel is not looked upon as a prophet. And you know why? Because through the prophecies of Daniel, he proves the existence of Yehoshua. He prophesied. He prophesied the death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah. All right? That's how we find his birthday from his death day, and we count back 6 months. But let's go to Daniel, the 7th chapter. Daniel 7, let's pick it up at the first verse. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and a vision of his head upon the bed. And he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. So wind is spirit, ruach, and the great sea represent mass bodies of people, nations, if you will, large continents, communities. So he saw a spirit go upon a different sections of people. All right. In this vision, he saw spirits, a spirit, a behavior, an attitude, a vision go up on a group of people. It says 4 different spirits, and they came up chronologically, all right, in order. He said 4 great beasts came from the sea. So these spirits gathered up a kingdom of people. It made a king and a kingdom. In order to be a king, you need a body of people to govern. In order to be a kingdom, you need a king over the body of people. So the spirit created a king and a kingdom. All right. And it says the 4 different beasts came from the sea, from the people. So the spirit on these people, these kingdoms, he referred to them as beasts because they have the characteristics of these beasts. So he identified these kingdoms as beasts because they move and operate like beasts. All right. The 4 great beasts came from the sea, and they were diverse, different from one another. He said the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. So when this spirit came upon this people and it created this kingdom with a king, its characteristics was a lion with wings. He said, I beheld till the wings thereof was plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon his feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So the first beast is Babylon, all right, under the leadership of Nebuchadnezzar. So that's the king, and the kingdom was Babylon, this first beast, and its symbol, its mannerisms was a lion with eagle's wings. All right. Verse 5. And behold, another beast. The second one was like a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said, thus unto it, rise and devour much flesh. Now, this bear, we know from years of studying, and if time prevails in the future, we can go over this, but I'm giving you the answers. This bear is known as Medo Persia. This is the beginning of the end of the age. Daniel saw an image. He saw these beasts come up in chronological order, and it was identical to the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, which was a dream of an image. And that image started with a head and it ended with the toes. And that image represent these four kingdoms, these four spirits that brought these kingdoms, but it also represented chronological time. It was the beginning of the end of the age as we know it. The end of what age? Adam's age. All right. So it started with Nebuchadnezzar and it had a head of gold. But Daniel had the same dream through the eyes of a Hebrew. Nebuchadnezzar saw the dream through the eyes of a heathen. All right. Daniel saw it through the eyes of a righteous man. He's seeing it for what it really is. Okay. And we'll go over Nebuchadnezzar's too. It says, and behold, the beast, the second one was like a bear. It raised up itself on one side and had three ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said, thus unto it, rise, devour much flesh. And after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast also had four heads, and dominion was given to it. So this third beast is Greece. In the image that Nebuchadnezzar saw of the body, this would have been the belly and the thighs. The gold was the head, which was Babylon, and Medo Persia was the shoulders and the arms. That was silver. So we see metal, and as we see time goes on, the metals deteriorate in value. It went from gold, silver, to bronze, to clay or dirt, iron and clay, iron and dirt. So it diminished in value. Okay, so Daniel is seeing this third wind go on these people, create a nation, a beast. So he compared Greece with a lion with four heads. All right. And after this, in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverged from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So this fourth beast, through years of research, we see based on history that this was Rome and its children. Well, who is the children of Rome? What we know now as the European Union and America. All right. We can add Australia, we can add Canada, different ones that came out of the birth of some of the children, but the beast is Rome. So you got four beasts that created, four spirits that created these nations. Babylon, gold; Medo Persia, silver; a bear; Greece, which was bronze; and a leopard. And the fourth beast, it said, was dreadful and terrible. And we know that this was Rome. It had iron teeth and iron nails. All right. And verse 8, he said, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them a little horn. So out of the fourth beast, there came a little horn. It says, where the three of the first horns plucked up by the root, and behold, his horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speak great things. And so we're going to deal with the third beast, which is Greece, which we want to deal specifically with the prophecy where Hanukkah came from. We're living in the fourth beast. But I want to go back to the third beast so you can see where Hanukkah came from and how we got to where we at today due to the influences of the Greeks. All right. So let us skip down to verse 15. He said, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the vision of my head troubled me. He said, I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretations of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings, see, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever, forever and ever. So this is a fixed fight. We have to believe that in the midst of the fight, when things are getting tough, like they are now. But you have to remind yourself that we're going to win, and the kingdoms are going to be given to us and never another people. Verse 19, he said, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverged from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and nails of brass. See that? Which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with its feet. So this last beast is a combination of all the beasts together. And its teeth was of iron and nails of brass. So we know that the brass was Greece, and we know that iron was Rome. This is where you get your democracy from. All right. And so we know that this beast operated on the system that we know that is, we call it what, the Roman or the Greco-Roman operation. So it was Greco-Romanized, all right? And we come from that democracy. Greece is the mother of democracy, the system, this republic that we find ourselves living in it today. So this beast had attributes of all of the three beasts prior to it, all right? And it stamped the residue with its feet. So it took no prisoners. It didn't allow you to stay who you were. See, those other previous beasts will conquer us, but it let us keep our identity. This fourth beast took our identity and cloned us and made us out to be them. This is how terrible this fourth beast is. But I want to get back to dealing with the third beast. I want to get back to dealing with the third beast. So let's go to Daniel, the 8th chapter. Because out of the third beast came Hanukkah. All right. So let's look at Daniel 8, and we'll start at verse 15. It says, it came to pass when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning. Then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. He said, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell on my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for the time of the end shall be the vision. He said, now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make you know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. He said, for a time appointed, the end shall be. All right. He said, the ram which you saw having two horns are the kings of Medo-Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Greece. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. He said, now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nations, but not in his power. So in this third beast, which is Greece, it had four heads, and it was talking about four kings that's going to stand out of this. And out of these four kings, there's going to come another king who's going to be Antiochus the fourth, who's going to set his eyes on our glory land. He's going to go down to the glory land. He's going to park there, and he's going to take it over, and he's going to bring the abomination of desolation. He's going to bring Greek mythology in Jerusalem in the temple. And to this very day, we're struggling with the doctrine that he brought down there. All right? We're still struggling with it. They got it back. They took the temple back and they cleansed it. And they rededicated the temple back to the Father. But the things that he brought, we're still struggling with in this temple to this very day. All right. 22 again. It says, now that being broken, whereas the four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. This king I submit to you is Antiochus the fourth. He is Antiochus Epiphanes. He's the one that came down to Jerusalem and imposed on us the Greek life, Greek mythology, Greek philosophy, Greek garbage. All right. This is who brought in the image of jealousy. It says, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy how? Wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. He shall do what? This is a precursor of the Antichrist. This is the father of perdition, if you will. We read in 2 Thessalonians where the Antichrist will be the son of perdition. This is the precursor of the Antichrist that is to come. They both going to rule 3.5 years. And from my understanding of the prophecy that Daniel gave, they're going to give the last 7 year of a 490-year prophecy, which up until this day, only 469 and a half has been fulfilled. But there's another 3.5 years of the prophecy is to be fulfilled according to Daniel. And that is the last 3.5 years of the Antichrist. The first 3.5 years came during Antiochus the fourth, which when we created Hanukkah through our resistance. We resisted this devil man, and thus Hanukkah was created because we had to clean the temple of his pollution, his swine, his Zeus worship, his Jesus worship, and we had to rededicate it back to the Father. So beginning December 1st through the 8th, we remind ourselves of what took place, and it trains us and it teaches us how to deal with this beast. And we're dealing with the minions of the beast in the likes of you know who with the jab. If I call his name, they're going to take this down, just like they counsel my other one prior to this. So until we get our website up, we can say what we want to say. But my hands are tied calling these folk names. But you know who's in charge? The great computer person who is a computer programmer who is teaching other men how to program jabs in your body and turning the temple of the Father into a computer. This is the relationship that this man has with the jab juice in the little volume bottle that they are mandating today. All right? This is his relationship. He is programming your body just like a computer could be programmed for the Antichrist. He's one of the secretaries, minions of the son of perdition. You better know this. All right. Look at 24 again. This is a precursor, at the same time, a dual prophecy of who the Antichrist is and how he's going to operate. His power shall be mighty, and not by his own power, because he's going to get his power from the dragon, Satan, the devil, Halel, Lucifer. It says, and he shall destroy how? It says wonderfully. Well, what does wonderfully mean? Fearfully. He's going to be destroying. He's the abomination of desolation. He's going to bring things to nothing with the appearance of it being good. He's going to come with all the problem solving solutions that you'll see brewing up today. All of this chaos looks like it's going to be a civil war. You got one side don't want the jab. You got the liberals, anything go. The liberals is pushing transhumanism, homosexuality, and anything go. And then you got the other side, don't want to come subject and don't want to be like us, oppressed. You know, like the man said at the airport. He told the airport security, y'all know the federal agents, don't treat me like a black man. So the right wingers don't want to be treated like black because they know they have to come subject to what they know or what they call as New World Order. So they have to come subject to that. They don't want to. They trying to mandate the jab. They don't want that. The liberals is for anything. So you got the liberals, the left wing fighting against the right wing. Who's going to control the head? It's the same bird. So all this chaos and what happens in America affects the world. This is the whore or the harlot, very well could be riding the back of the beast, who has a lot of authority in the world and a lot of influence. And so the chaos is kicking off from here, just like in all other satellite pods of the world. And this dude gonna show up and he's gonna bring a lot of false solutions. And it says, even the very elect, if it's possible, would be deceived. Because we want so much relief and so much comfortability. We want to go back to 2019 so bad that we're willing to take anything that makes us feel good because we caught up in the microwave society just like everybody else. So we're caught up just like Lot's wife, just like everybody else. So when this chump show up, he's going to bring solutions and we're going to be going forward just like everybody else. And those of us going to be like, we see you. Our own brothers and sisters going to be turning us in. You stupid. Why are you bringing trouble for us? He brought relief. That's Jesus Christ. All of this stuff is going to happen, and you see the stage being set up for these things to take place. Keep living and pay attention. All right. 24, one more again with our renewed minds. It says, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy how? Fearfully, and shall prosper and practice his politics, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. The mighty and the holy people. That's us, y'all. And through his policies, through his practices, through his politics, his cunning ways, his what they call the art of compromising, Through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Sound like the snake in the garden, don't it? And he shall magnify himself where? In his mind. We living in the time of narcissism like never before. Everybody is so self-centered. Man has become lovers of themselves. You think I'm lying? Grab your friend or your neighbor's cell phone and go through their pictures. And I bet you find 9,000 selfies. Everybody has gotten so self-centered, and I ain't never wrong. It's always somebody else. I ain't do nothing. It's always somebody else's fault. This is the hour we living in. The spirit of narcissism is thick as the day is long. All right. So he shall magnify himself in his heart, in his mind. And everybody that has his spirit is going to be the same way. And by peace, right? By a false shalom shall destroy many in the name of peace. The weaklings and those that's going to go out like Lot's wife is going to go for everything. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hands. This is twofold. This is Antiochus the fourth, and this is the Antichrist. They both ramshacked the holy city for 3.5 years. Antiochus the fourth went down into Jerusalem. The Antichrist is going to sit in Jerusalem. And just remember, all my brothers and sisters who desire to go to the land, fine, go to the land. Just know that it has the spirit of Sodom and Egypt. And you need to know that when the Antichrist go on tour, because he's going on a world tour, just like your favorite artist, when he go on his world tour, his first stop is Israel. You better know this. You better be prepared. All right? Wherever you at in this world, if the Father ain't with you, you done. So it don't matter. All right? We would all love to die and be laid next to our forefathers. All that's fine. That is not the land that the Father going to give to us. It's the geographical location, but it ain't heaven on earth right now. Stop it. Verse 26. And the spirit of the evening and the morning, which was told, is true. Wherefore shut you up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And Daniel fainted and was sick certain days, and afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. You got Daniel, this man greatly used by the Father. Hey, he's sick and he's baffled by what he see. You got all these fly-by-night false preachers all over the TV, and even some of your friends talking about how they sitting around in Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks talking to the Father, and they so deep and ain't no vision and nothing bothered them. But then you got all these prophets go back and forth to the Father to make sure that they heard from the Father. But you got all these false prophets. When folks start talking about y'all said this and y'all said that, let that antenna go up. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the Father talking to you. Y'all playing chess and backgammon and Uno. Right. Absolutely. Yes. You out your mind. All right. So Daniel just prophesied about the abomination and desolation. But let's go further. Let's stay in Daniel and let's go further into the 9th chapter. All right. These are twofold prophecies concerning Antiochus the fourth and the Antichrist. The Father has prepared us how to deal with the Antichrist by understanding Hanukkah and keeping and memorializing Hanukkah. You are to remember how the Father used the hammer, the Maccabees, to get the temple back, to fight the beast. All right? And that's what Hanukkah does. Hanukkah is about war. It's about righteousness. It is the spirit of Mashiach to deliver us from physical and mental sins and oppression. That's what a Messiah does. delivers you from your sins in your mind and purges out of you the desire and deliver you from your oppressor. That's what a Messiah is, and that's what Hanukkah carries, the spirit of Mashiach. All right? You need to know this because our lives depend on it. Let's go to Daniel, the 9th chapter. Let's pick it up, Daniel 9 and verse 20. All right. Daniel 9 and 20, we're still dealing with the third beast, which is the Greeks, which is that little horn came out of one of the heads of the big horns. Of one of the heads that came out of the Greeks. All right. Daniel 9 and 20. It says, and when I was speaking and praying and confessing my sins and the sins of my people Israel, and presenting my supplications before Yahweh, my Elohim, for the holy mountain of my Elohim, he said, yes, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation or the evening sacrifices. So he was praying during the evening oblation, and the oblation in the evening is 3 p.m. All right. You got the third hour of the day, which is 9 a.m. You got the 6th hour of the day sacrifice, which is noon, 12 noon. And you have the evening, which is 3 p.m. These are all the times Hamashiach was crucified. He was taken, he was given the crown of thorns at 9 a.m. He was marched through the streets until 12. He was hung on the stake at 12 and he died at 3 p.m. All right. Those were hours of sacrifice. That's how you know he was the sacrificial lamb. He was the atoning sacrifice. All right. And Daniel prayed just like we pray during the 3rd, 6th, and the 9th hour of the day. And Daniel was praying, and the Holy Spirit spoke to him, which was Gabriel, just like Cornelius was praying in the 3rd and the 6th hour of the day, and the Holy Spirit came to him. Hint, hint, wink, wink. These are ways to pray. You want to get the Father's attention? 3rd, 6th, and 9th hour of the day. 6 a.m., 12 noon, and 3 p.m. These are sacrificial times. All right. We don't sacrifice animals anymore, but we give a sacrificial praise, sacrificial pray. All right. So Daniel was praying, and the evening oblation or the evening time of the offering or sacrifice, the korban, the offering, Yehoshua was our gift that we give back to the Father after he gave to us, that will allow us to come into the Father's presence. Whenever there's sin, without the shedding of innocent blood, you cannot come into the presence of the Father. So Yehoshua enabled us to formally come back in the presence of the Father because he was a sacrifice. He was an offering. He was a gift. All right. That's what oblation means. It means offering, gift. And Yehoshua was our sacrificial lamb that allowed us to come back into the Father's presence through his shedding of his innocent blood. That's Torah. Verse 22. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give you, he says, skill and understanding. This is the thing that a lot of us teachers lack. Skill and understanding. We're running zeal without knowledge. He said, at the beginning of your supplications, your prayers, the commandment came forth. He said, and I am come to show you, for you are greatly beloved. This man is greatly beloved, a great prophet, but you have some communities saying he wasn't even a prophet. But the Holy Spirit, Gabriel just said, hey, you are greatly beloved of the Father. He said, therefore, understand the matter and consider the vision. See, when we're dealing with prophecy, prophecy is absolute, but a lot of us don't absolutely understand it. So we write books, we teach lessons on prophecy, and see, those books don't change. See, the only thing we know absolutely is that Yah is, and there is none else. He is Echad. Yehoshua is Hamashiach to the glory of Yah. See, that's what we know is absolute, that there is no Father without going through Hamashiach. Yah is our Savior. All right, Yehoshua is Hamashiach. But prophecy, understanding prophecy, is not always absolute with us because there are many barriers. There are language barriers. There's lack of understanding. There is more studying that we have to do. And also, the Father gives understanding as He desires. So, on a need to know basis, the Father gives prophetic understanding. You got all these folk that wrote all these books, and that stuff is wrong. And they ain't repented and went back and changed the book or nothing. See, when it comes to prophecy, you got to know that you know what you're talking about, and you got to continue to go over as the Father unfolds the scriptures to you. All right, we did shows years ago, Elder Shana, Elder Aharon, Kazakiel, and myself, and one of them was called Unfolding the Scriptures, produced by Imai Tifa and Imai Zemiria. As the Father unfolds prophecy, this is how we understand it. Some of us is going way ahead of the Spirit, just like the Jews is with the calendar. Tomorrow ain't promised to us. And so we have to be very careful when we give absolute answers on prophecy. All right? Unless you know that you know that you know that Father told you this. So the Holy Spirit is giving Daniel the interpretation of the dreams. Isn't it amazing how Daniel going through this? But now we got all these false prophets just rolling stuff off their tongue, ain't living worth nothing. I mean, we just filthy and perverted. And every third, fourth word come out of our mouth is profanity, but the Father speaking to us. Yeah, right. Verse 24. So he said, consider this vision, Daniel. 70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon the holy city to do what? Finish transgressions, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. All this vision that Daniel got from the head of gold, Nebuchadnezzar, all the way down in the image, the toes, or the four winds of heaven, he saw come up on the sea and create these four different kingdoms, which are Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome, in their chronological order as they ran the known world. All of that is designed to give us understanding of this. 24, 70 weeks are determined upon your people. So 70 weeks, we're talking about 70 times 70, which is 490 years. 490 years is determined upon your people to do what, Daniel? To finish transgression, to make an end of sin. The Father, he's sick and tired of the animal sacrifices because we're doing it with the wrong heart, with the wrong mind. So Daniel is prophesying. He's prophesying the death, burial, and resurrection of Yehoshua, but he's also prophesying about his second return. So he's prophesying about the beginning of the end of the age of Adam, starting with Nebuchadnezzar and ending at Yehoshua's return. Yehoshua came through Mary, all right? His first birth, his first coming, he came through Mary, all right? And his second coming, he's coming back when the Father sent him. And the prophecy to explain this is in 490 years. But from years of researching and trying to understand this, they're not consecutive totally. From my understanding, 460 or 483, Sleeker, 483 is consistent, but the last 7 is chopped up. And I'm going to go over that, all right? This is my understanding. And my understanding of prophecy is not absolute. And I'm not ashamed to say that I do not understand everything in prophecy, but I continue to study it. And I continue to look at the events of the world. And I continue to try and understand what the Father is saying as much as he would give it to me. All right. But you got books and upon books. This stuff is written and ain't no coronavirus in none of these books. Ain't nothing what happening in none of these books. None of these folk don't know what they talking about. All right. So all of what Daniel is giving us, this dream, these 4 winds, 70 weeks are determined upon Israel and the holy city. All right. Israel is a land. Israel is a people. To finish transgression, to make an end of sin, to make reconciliation for iniquity. Verse 25, he say, know therefore and understand from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks, and the street shall be built again, and the world even in troublous times. So Daniel is prophesying that when the Father speaks and say it's time to go back to restore Jerusalem from what? From the Babylonian captivity that he is currently in. The Babylonian captivity that he was currently in, it lasted for 70 years, but they was in the land of their captors after the captivity was over. But the captivity only lasted 70 years. And Jeremiah prophesied that. Jeremiah, you can read Jeremiah, the 25th chapter. All right. And so the Babylonian captivity, and through Nehemiah, which in the 2nd chapter of Nehemiah, when the decree was given to go back and to rebuild the temple, it was 483 years. All right. From that decree until making an end of iniquity, to stopping sacrifices. Well, what do you mean? It was 483 years from the time of Nehemiah until Yehoshua's death, burial, and resurrection. That's what I mean. Daniel was prophesying about stopping animal sacrifices. All right. So we had to get the temple back because the temple had to exist during the life of Hamashiach. And if you notice, right after Hamashiach, and then the apostles set up the first church, then we was thrown right back shortly after that into captivity. So it was just until the Messiah came and left and set up the church, then the enemy came right back and took Jerusalem right back over. The 10 tribes during the time of Isaiah went into captivity. The Assyrians took us. the 10 tribes in the north, after we joined up with Assyria to attack the two southern tribes, which was Judea, which was the makeup of Judah and Benjamin with Levi. And so we went into captivity, never came back. The Father allowed Judah to come out of captivity just so we can get the temple, so Yehoshua can be circumcised in the temple on the 8th day and put an end to sacrifices. So now we can come to the Father by his blood. Then after that was over, a few years after the Yehoshua was gone, we lost Jerusalem once again, right back into captivity. We've been in captivity for the past 2,000 years. We've been in exile, the last two tribes. The 10 tribes has been in captivity, in exile, the last 3,000, 2,800 some years, 500 years. All right. So this is what Daniel was prophesying. Let me read verse 25 again. All this has to do with Hanukkah. It says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks. All right. We're talking about 7 times 7. We're talking about 7 weeks, 7 years, and 62 weeks, and the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. We'll get into all of that as I continue to go on. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the middle of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the offerings to cease. And for the overspreading of the abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and the determined shall be poured upon the desolation. So it's a lot of things that's going on, within this prophecy, but I'm just going to stick to the subject at hand, which is Hanukkah. So we see in the middle of the week, all right, Yehoshua was crucified on the Wednesday evening. All right, he was in the belly of the well for 3 days and for 3 nights. All right, and he was crucified in the evening. He gave up the spirit at 3 p.m., which was a Wednesday night, was the first night. Thursday morning was the first morning. Thursday night was the second night. Friday morning was the second morning. Friday night was the third night. And Saturday morning was the third morning. He was 3 days and 3 nights in the middle of the week. All right. He came to town on the 10th day of the month, which was a Shabbat, Palm Shabbat. So this is what Daniel is prophesying, and that is 483 years from this. Let's go to Nehemiah, the 2nd chapter. I'm giving you the answers, and I'm giving you something to go back and research. Let's go to Nehemiah, the 2nd chapter. Although it's chronologically before Daniel, as the book is written, but Nehemiah came after Daniel in real time. King James Bible is not in proper chronological order. Let's go to Nehemiah, the 2nd chapter. I'm just giving you all these things, and then when I go into details, you will be able to understand. All these prophecies has a lot to do with Hanukkah. All right. This is why I read in John, the 10th chapter, Yehoshua kept Hanukkah. Look at Nehemiah, the 2nd chapter, and start at verse 11. And it reads, so I came to Jerusalem, and I was there 3 days. And I rose in the night, and some few men with me. He said, neither told I any man what my Elohim had put in my mind to do at Jerusalem. Neither was there any beast with me except the beast that I rode upon. He said, I went out by night by the gate of the valley, even before the dragon well, and to the dung port, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem. He said, which were broken down, and the gates thereof consumed with fire. Then I went out to the gate of the fountain, and to the king's pool, but there was no place for the beast that was under me to pass. He said, then went I up in the night by the brook, and viewed the wall, and turned back, and entered by the gate of the valley to return. And the rulers knew not whether I went or what I did, neither had as yet told it to the Israelites, the Yehudim, nor the priests, nor the nobles, nor the rulers, nor the rest that did the work. Then said I unto them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lie waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we no more a shame, a reproach. So when this decree went out, that started the timeline of the prophecy to build up the wall of Jerusalem. So when this decree went up, from this decree to 483 years was the prophecy that Daniel just gave unto the death, burial, and resurrection of Yehoshua. This is what the Father gave Daniel, and Gabriel gave him the interpretation. He say 18, then I told them of the hand of my Elohim, which was good upon me, as the king's word that has spoken unto me. And they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. He said, but the sand Barlet and the hornet Tobiah, the servant of the Ammonite, and Gershom the Arabian heard it. They laughed us to scorn and despised us and said, what is this thing that you do? Will you rebel against the king? Then answered I them and said unto them, the Elohim of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore, we his servants will rise and build. But you have no portion, no right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. These were heathens and mutts and trespassers. But the Father gave Nehemiah, gave him the vision, and this is when the decree went out. Now go back to Daniel and look at Daniel 9 and verse 25. It says, now therefore, and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to do what? Restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince, shall be 7 weeks. See that? And 62 weeks. And the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. They laughed him to scorn. So when he prophesied that, that was the countdown to the death, burial, and resurrection of Yehoshua. And what did Yehoshua bring in? Reconciliation for iniquity. He was the sacrificial lamb. All right. Look at verse 26. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. He died for the remissions of our sins. And the people of the prince that come shall destroy the city. So the people of the ruler shall come and destroy the city. All right. This is exactly what Antiochus Epiphanes did. He came and ramshacked Jerusalem, and he brought in the image of jealousy. He brought in the understanding, the doctrine of Zeus. We had to get the temple back and rededicate it. So when Yehoshua, death, burial, and resurrection, the temple had to be standing, and we had to have priests. All right? You have to know this and understand this, your history. It says, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto end of war, desolations. I told you Hanukkah is about war. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the offerings to stop. In the middle of the week, Yahushua will cause sacrifice to stop for the overspreading of the abominations, because the Father was tired of the animal sacrifices. It wasn't doing nothing. Our sins was piling up. He shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation. And this is what the abomination of desolation did. He made it desolate. Who was he talking about? In that instance, he was talking about Titus of Vespasian, because Titus was the Antichrist type after Antiochus. He ramshacked Jerusalem in 66 and a half AD until 70 AD. All right? He was another abomination of desolation. And he was part of Rome. Antiochus was part of Greece. Remember, the prophecy said it had teeth like iron and nails like brass. The Greco-Romanized militant mindset, that the democracy that fought against us and that still got us in captivity, mentally and spiritually, they had us in chattel slavery. So it was the Greeks through Antiochus, and it was Vespasian or Titus, the father and the son, for 3.5 years. Just like it was 3.5 years of Antiochus ramshacking Jerusalem, we got 3.5 years of the Antichrist, according to John in Revelation. All right, that's prophesied, that's going to be tribulation. All right, so I'm going to tie all of this in. I just needed to go back and lay this foundation so you can see the importance of the week that is coming up, this 8-day observance. All right, so we're going to continue. We're going to go into the 11th chapter of Daniel, and I'm going to narrow this thing down, go back to the third wind, or the third beast that Daniel saw, which is the Greeks. They gave us Hanukkah. All right. So let's go to Daniel chapter 11. And it reads, he said, also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now will I show you the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia. The fourth shall be far richer than all, and by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. And a mighty king shall stand up and shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up even for others beside those. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him and have dominion. His dominion shall be great dominion. This is Daniel prophesying about how the Greeks is going to take over Medo-Persia, and how out of the Greeks is going to come Antiochus IV, and out of Antiochus IV, he's going to ramshack Jerusalem, and our ancestors is going to fight him and get the temple back. All right, and he's going to show us how the Antichrist is going to operate with us in these last and evil days. Verse 6, and in the end of years there shall join together themselves for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. He says, but shall not retain the power, the arm, neither shall he stand nor the arm, but she shall be given up. And they brought her, and he begat her, and he that straightened her in those branches. Let's skip down to verse 21. All right. And this is getting right into the meat and the thick of things. It says, and in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken. Yea, all the prince of the covenant, and after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. For he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the providence. And he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil the riches. Yes, he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for the time. This is talking about Antiochus the Fourth Epiphanes. This is 175 BC. And this is him coming out of the Greeks, one of the heads of the Greeks. And the Greeks had four different heads. If we go back to 11, I just want to read real quick 11 and 5 and 6. It says, and the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion, and shall be great dominion. And in the end of years, they shall join themselves together for the king's daughter. Now, this is talking about the four heads that sat on the leopard, which was the Greeks. And I'm going to give it to you. The Greeks broke up into four different kings, came out of the Greeks, and it was four dynasties. All right. You had the Ptolemy dynasty, you had the Seleucus dynasty. All right. You had four different dynasties. And then the last two, you had the Seleucus, and you had the Ptolemy. But earlier you had Cassander and Lysimachus. So you had, these are the four. And the little horn, Antiochus the Fourth, he came out of one of the horns, and he came out of Seleucus. All right, so these, when Alexander the Greek died, you have four generals, and out of the four generals, there were four dynasties in Greece. And out of one of the dynasties came Antiochus the Fourth, who ramshacked Jerusalem. And this is why Hanukkah existed, because we fought him. All right. Let's go back, Slika, to Daniel 11 and verse 25. It says, and he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. So this is fighting between the Greeks. And then he come down to the south, and he's going to attack Pharaoh of Egypt. And then he's going to turn back up and look at us in the Holy Land. It says, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army, but he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Yes, they that fed on the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper. For yet the end shall be at the time appointed. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land. So as Antiochus the fourth is conquering, he's going down, he's going south, and he's going toward what we know as the Middle East, and he's going down further into Africa, into Egypt. He's going to be destroying, but he is going to have a specific hatred toward Torah. And he's going to hate the children of Israel and the ways of the Father. And he attacked Israel to the point where he began to paint white Greek pictures in the Bible. He started the whitewashing of the Holy Land, changing everything to white. All of this started during the time of the Maccabees, during the time of Hanukkah. All right. So this is Daniel prophesying about that. I'm showing you Hanukkah in the scriptures. Then I'm going to show you it in the Apocrypha more plain. But I want to show you the prophecies first with Daniel. Then we're going to read the actual events in the 1611 King James Bible. All right. First, we want to read the prophecy. Then we're going to read the manifestation of the prophecy. So bear with me. I know this is a lot of reading, but this is how you learn. All right. Verse 29, we had Daniel chapter 11. It says, at the time appointed, he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. For the ships of Chittim shall come up against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. He still got the holy book on his mind. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. So he's going to have his minions, his religious leaders that has the appearance of righteousness, the appearance of being Hebrew Israelites, just like we have those today that is in politics and they the head of the churches. I don't want to say any name. I don't want to give them no more fame than they already got. But they are the civil rights leaders who are in the bed with the powers that be, who pretend to represent us. All right. So he is a politician. He's the king of Greece. And his Hebrew preachers are boule. All right. That's what they are. They are Greek fraternities that is being led by the Greek of the Greeks, the true Greeks. And so look at 30 again. It says, for the ships of Chittim shall come up against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. And so he's going to use the children of Israel to come against the covenant. This is where it all started at. This is where the Pharisees started, the Paroshim, and they were holy men and they were righteous. But 170 some years later, they was wicked during the life of Yehoshua. But during the time when Hanukkah was created, the Pharisees were righteous men because the Levitical priesthood was in the bed with the government of the Greeks. This is what this is telling you, all right? Look at 30. For the ships of Chittim shall come up against him, okay? He shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So he shall return and have intelligence with them that forsook the holy covenant. So he's going to join an alliance with backsliders who have some knowledge of the book. This is leadership. The government has always used leadership that they handpick to represent us. This is where it all started. During the time of the Greeks, and you got the so-called reverends, the same ones that every time one of our kids gets shot down like a dog in the street, they always the ones who's standing behind the family getting the checks. All right? We shall overcome them. Verse 31, it says, an arm shall stand on his part, and they shall do what? Pollute the sanctuary of the strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifices, and they shall place the abomination that make it desolate. They shall take away the ark of the covenant, the holy things in the scriptures, in the temple, and they're going to bring Zeus and they're going to sacrifice pig on the altar. This is exactly what the Greeks did. All right? They're going to make it an abomination, a desolation in the temple. This is what this is telling you. And he's doing this with Israelites at his side that made a covenant with them. All of this is shown out in the Maccabees. But Daniel is prophesying. So when we read the Maccabees in the weeks to come, you're going to be able to see, oh, I see what Daniel was saying. He's prophesying now, but we're going to see the manifestation of the prophecy. All right. Look at verse 32. Daniel 11 and 32. It says, and as such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupted by flatteries. See, he's going to corrupt us and the leaders of us, the elders, the Morim, all of these charlatans, all of these howling shepherds, all of these brothers with all of these funny names and that ain't standing on nothing. He's going to bite them. It says he's going to corrupt them with flatteries. But the people that know their Elohim shall be strong and do exploits. There's going to be us who's going to be the resistors. And those are going to be the brothers that's going to get in the bed with the Antichrist and turn in their own brothers. But it says those of us that know Yah, we're going to do great exploits. See, Hanukkah teaching us how to fight. A lot of people you love and even sleep in the same bed under the same roof gonna turn you in. They already don't like your religion. They talking about you like a dog behind your back. You showed up on Thanksgiving. They were smiling and cheesing, but they talking about you. Them gonna be the same ones that's gonna turn you in when you resist. Because the Antichrist gonna have in his cabinet Hebrews with fringes. Watch. Daniel already done told us. He already done told us. You know a man by the fruity pear and not by them slick words and not by his garments. Stop it, Israel. You better judge people righteously because folks is doing and saying any old thing. But when that heat comes, you're going to know who's a real moray and you're going to know who's a fake one when the heat comes. Because the heat coming, hey, they taking names. All of us who's putting together these exemption letters, oh, they got a database for that. They know. They want the heads of the operations that who is going against the vaccine. It's just like when they come against drug dealers. Hey, they don't want the small guy. They're going to get him eventually. They want him, but they doing racketeering. Hey, they want the head. They want the spiritual leaders. They want the ones that have the gift for the gab that can motivate the people to serve the Father because they fear the rise of a black Messiah. These people take us more serious than us. We out here talking and fighting over scriptures, and we calling the Father all these crazy names. We calling the Messiah all these crazy names. We inventing new Hebrews, and our enemies is training for war, and we twerking and boogieing our way to the lake of fire. And our enemy ain't playing with us. And when he comes, he gonna have Israelites with him. He gonna have them right along with him. All these Israelite movie stars that went on TV and on internet and say, we the people, they spanked them in front of you and they turned around. Oh, I'm sorry. We all Israel now. Oh, you're gonna see a lot of that. Stay tuned. The heat is coming. They've been letting us talk for years. We've been on these internets. We've been huffing and puffing and talking. Now it's finna go down. Man, when 2020 hit last year, a whole new trumpet was blown. Oh, it's on and popping now. Oh, it's on. You're going to see who's real, and you're going to see who's fake real soon. Because this chump going to have, just like he did back before, he had Pharisees, he had Levitical priests in his cabinets. The Antichrist, Antagonists the fourth. And the Antichrist that is to come, he's going to have the same thing. A lot of these leaders, all these brothers, we be shaloming already in the bed with them. They got your address. Keep living. You're going to see. Let's get back to the text. Let's get right back to the text. So it says in verse 32, and such as do wickedly against the covenant, against the law, shall be corrupt by flatteries, his policies, his gift of gab, his resources. He done took your job. He done took your career. You done went to school for all these years, and he told you get the job or it's gone. He take your career. Now he gonna come right back around and give it right back to you with a compromise. Oh yeah, this is a war against the Father and his people. He's gonna destroy all man, but he's gonna do something specifically to the Father and his people, just like Antagonists did. It's already written. We just characters already in the play that's been written already. Verse 33. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. See that? Those of us that understand going to be given instructions. Yet they shall fall by the sword, and we're going to be persecuted. No good deed is going unpunished. Those that's going to be speaking the truth is going to be made an example of. See, a lot of us going to go by the way of the prophets. Who do we think we is? These prophets were sawn in half. Their heads was cut off. They was killed. Yehoshua was murdered. If they did it to him, who do you think you are? See, we think it's cute to be a Moreh. Everybody want to stand before the people. Everybody want to be cute. Keep living. Keep on living. Yeah, we got the victory, but it's coming with a price. It's going to be some bloodshed. It's going to be some death. It's been prophesied. It's going to be plenty martyrs. Ain't no rapture. Ain't going to be no rapture. Ain't going to be no rapture. You can stop that. And then we trying to make a wilderness rapture. It says right here, they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword, by flame, by captivity, by spoil many days. You're going to pay a price. You're going to pay a price delivering this word. It's going to be your life, or you're going to compromise just like the other reverends on these TVs lying to the Father's people. Keep living. We're going to see. Oh, yeah, over y'all. I remember you was on there, you talking all that stuff. Where you at now? My name is Richard Antoine Smith. We're going to cut these beards, and we're going to change our names back to Tyrone and all the rest of them. Watch what I tell you. Because we're playing games with the Father. Now is the time to practice. You're not finna not practice, and then when this heat come on, you're gonna stand and you're gonna create a resistance. Nothing in society, reality works like that. Verse 34, it says, now when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them of understanding shall fall. There go again, to try them and to purge, to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. It says, and the king shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every God, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper until the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. He's going to reign until Yehoshua comes back. He's going to call himself above every God. And you know how that is done? Easily. That is done through self. It's not necessarily worshiping something that's called Baal or Baal or the Lord, or calling on these false deities. It starts with your own belly. Worshiping the devil starts with you worshiping you. That's idolatry. We're living in a narcissistic society where everybody is so self-centered, and man is a worshiper of himself. And this is what the Antichrist is promoting. Worship yourself. Man is trying to be God. He's trying to live forever. He's trying to change his consciousness into computers and get robot parts. He's trying to be God. Women trying to be men. They don't want to be women. They see no value in being a woman. They just want to be a man. The kids want to be adults. Nobody wants to do the role that the Father has given us. Roles. We have places to stay in. We have specific anointings that we was given. We don't want that. Started in the garden. Everything, corruption goes up. I don't want to be this. I want to be that. Everybody wants to be something other than what the Father gave them. The worship of self is the greatest deception of the devil when it comes to worshiping him. He don't care as long as you don't worship Yahweh, Elohim, Sabaoth, through Yehoshua, who is Hamashiach. So everybody's worshiping themselves. Everybody just love themselves. Unapologetic self-defense attorney for themselves. I didn't do it. I saw your hands in the cookie jar. It wasn't me. It was somebody else. Everything I did wrong, it was because of somebody else. No confession, none of that. This is where we're at. This is what this is talking about. This is the power of the Antichrist, the power of Antiochus Epiphanes. He did this 175 years prior to Yehoshua coming. We beat him then, we're going to beat him again. But these things happen. There's nothing new under the sun. All right? Verse 36, one more again. And the king shall do according to his will. See that? Idolatry. And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every Elohim, every source, every power, and shall speak, it says, marvelous things, unusual things against the Most High. So against the judge of all judges, he shall speak unusual things against Yah. Remember, he has a problem with the book, and he's going to have Israelites right along with him. And he's going to prosper until the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. It says, neither shall he regard the Elohim of his fathers, nor desire of women. Oh, I see that spirit is already here. He's not going to desire no woman. He's the head of all of this translucent behavior. transgender, trans this and trans that, transgression. All right. Neither shall he regard the Elohim of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any Elohim. For he shall magnify himself above all. This is what Antiochus did. This is what Vespasius Titus did. This is what the Antichrist is going to do. The abomination of desolation. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and the God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, with precious stone and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most stronghold with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind with chariots and a horseman, and shall many ships, and he shall enter into the country, and he shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter into the glorious land. This is Antiochus Epiphany. He shall enter into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. This happened with the Greeks. It says, but these shall escape out of his hand. It talks about Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon. It says, he shall stretch forth his hand unto the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. We're going to read all of that. This is what Antiochus Epiphany did. But he shall have power over the treasure of gold, silver, over the precious things of Egypt. The Libyans, Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. Abomination of desolation. A detestable, foul human being that's going to destroy. And he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the sea in the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. So he's going to set up his tabernacle. Where at? In the seas, the Mediterranean, I perceive, in the glorious and holy mountain, Mount Zion. He's going to find his end there. This is where the brothers, the Maccabees, destroyed him. And this is what the Antichrist is going to do, and Yahushua are going to destroy him. All right. So this is the end of the prophecies concerning Antiochus Epiphany, which where Hanukkah came from. So I'm explaining Hanukkah, and it starts, if it be the Father's will, this Wednesday for 8 days. All right. And it is about the children of Israel taking the land of Israel back from the Greeks. Not just the land, but more in particular, the temple, the Beit HaKnesset. The Greeks took the temple and all the holy things of the temple, and they brought in witchcraft and abomination, idolatry, and they sacrificed swine flesh on the altar where we was to sacrifice clean animals for the remissions or the covering up of our sins. So they destroyed and desecrated, polluted the temple. And we know the temple is the center of our community. Wherever we live, the Knesset was the center. It's the heart of our community. And so he destroyed it. And this is how we serve our Father and receive instructions from him. And he destroyed that. And we got it back. Hanukkah ain't about no lights, no Hanukkah bush. It ain't no Christmas tree. It's about us taking the temple back from the Greeks. All right. This is what Hanukkah is about. Okay. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to close down the YouTube page, and I'm going to come back at 3:30 to finish out the class. So Toda, for those of you that is on YouTube, I'll be back if y'all say the same at 3:40. It's 3:10. So I'll be back and to finish out the class. But this concludes the first part of the class of Hanukkah. All right. So shalom, you all that is on YouTube. Thank you for coming in. And for those of you that's on the phone line, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back at 3:40. All right. Shalom, shalom. Toda.